Converted Man here. So I'll be doing something today that I never do on YouTube, which is talk about myself. Okay. uh, so I have a bunch of new subscribers. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Please check out my older content. I've got a bazillion different playlists, so please check one of those out. The 1 Minute Skeptic series is something that I really wanted to take off. Didn't really ever happen, I guess, but it's still there, still around. If you want to be in that, you can check the description on any of those videos and find out how you could be a person on the 1 Minute Skeptic if you're interested in that. Let's see what else. And my most proud playlist, I suppose, the one that I'm most happy with is the Karen S and Deconverted Man versus Side 10 Bergengate. And if you wanted to play the entire playlist from start to end, it's almost exactly, it's 2 hours. It's either almost, it's like a little bit more or a little bit less than 2 hours. I can't remember now offhand, but it's about 2 hours long, and people have actually told me that they watched it multiple times, so that's amazing. There is a hidden Easter egg. If you are watching visually, there is something to look for that will happen, that you'll see if you are paying attention, that nobody has yet to point out. So maybe you'll be the first one to say what that is. At any rate, so that's the welcome to the new subs and everything like that. It's been a while since I analyzed a video for logical fallacies. The problem is I haven't found any video lately that I can actually analyze at all. So I'm looking, and hopefully I'll find something. Okay, so after I cough and hack up a lung, apparently, I'm going to now talk about my history a little bit. And when I say history, I mean my deep past history. When I went to school once upon a time, when I was young, once upon a time back in the days before the internet even was really a thing that people knew about or that really existed on a wide scale. My goodness, what did we do back then? I went to, in my younger teen years, I went to a school that was different than the other schools I'd gone to, in that people were there that had a kind of either rough time at their other schools, or they had other issues, and this school was trying to kind of fill the gap and be there to catch those students who otherwise would have fallen through the cracks, so to speak. And I had spent a lot of time away from school, so it was go to this school or go to jail. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll go to that school. And I didn't want to go to jail. Because I hated school when I was young. Still don't like it now, although I love learning now. I guess I don't like what they taught, because a lot of what they taught was pointless and is pointless. And that's really what I would rail against, if anything. I think learning, I love to learn. I absolutely love to learn now. I have passion to learn. I want to learn as much as I can. And it's just, I think that the things they teach are not useful. But at any rate, that's a whole nother rant. Anyway, so the school I went to was mostly boys. Very few girls ever were there. And the thing that everyone did was cuts. And cuts was the term that was used for insults. And people would insult you, and you were expected to insult them back. If you didn't, it actually could cause a fight. Like, they would then try to fight you physically. So you had to respond to the cuts with cuts of your own if you didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to insult either, but you had to. It was just what was expected. And a lot of these kids needed the attention. That's why they were doing it, I guess, and that was the only attention they knew how to get, was negative attention, and they needed it from other people, and it was kind of this like game almost. And so if you don't attack me with words, I don't know what to do. And I remember late in my time there, like near the time I was almost done with it and ready to do college, which I did sometime early 11th grade. I said I'm just going to do community college. I don't need this anymore. I'm done. And anyways, um, one of my friends happened to be in the class with me. This other kid was there, Tim, and Tim was insulting my friend, and my friend kept standing up ready to fight, which wasn't the response that Tim wanted. Tim didn't want to fight him, but he would have fought him if he had to. And I said, hey, Tim, what are you doing? I'm right here. Insult me. And so he started to, and I, gave it back to him. And that's what he wanted. He didn't want a fight physically. He wanted a verbal sparring match, if you will, of insults. And I gave him that, although my insults were always odd, and I always try to outthink my opponent. Like, I wouldn't flip people off the normal way with your middle finger. I'd flip them off with every other finger out and the middle finger in, and I'd be like, see this? Reverse that. And then, like, I'd walk away, because now they have to think about what I just said, and then they have to, process it. And they'd have to fix that. The teachers and supervisors were right there with during recess or during class, and if you were too disruptive, they would take you out. But it was just, this was what was done, and everybody at that school was there because they had some sort of problem. So it was understood that this was a thing that happened. Now, good things about that school: we ate breakfast and lunch, and we ate with our teachers, and we were all on a first name basis with our teachers. So that was good, and the structure, I think, worked. I think it could be improved. It still exists as far as I know, but it ran low on funding, so they had to like squeeze it down to one school, and it was two schools. Yeah. But it was if you did your work every week, you could qualify for a field trip, and then they take us on the, I guess, the school's own expense. It came out of the pockets of I don't know. I guess the teachers got together and threw in money to do it. I don't know, but at any rate, they would take us to an arcade, or they'd take us to the Woos when that existed. This like maze that you actually walked. That was really rare to go there because it was pretty far away. One time we went camping. That was a really rare thing because that was, you actually needed parents' permission or whatever. But we'd go somewhere and do something fun, or even just hang out in the computer room and play whatever games that the computers had. And, just have kind of a break from school. But you had to behave yourself. So there were certain students that would like almost always be on the field trip. Like almost every time I was there. Like there was a couple times when I wasn't, because, but for the most part, I always was going. So at any rate, the insults back and forth, at first, I didn't get it and I didn't like it. And then I grew to understand it and tolerate it. I didn't ever like it. I never liked being insulted, and I never liked having to insult back, but I developed that skill. And so I developed a thick skin. And that carried with me even to today. And so in some of my online interactions with certain individuals over time, I've noticed that kind of come back to haunt me in a way where I'm ready to eviscerate them with words. Now, if you listen to different talks I've had on this channel, some of them I'm really nice, like to the person I'm talking to. And sometimes I'm not. Like I'm interrupting them. I'm, trash, I don't insult them, but I, just don't, I just don't let up. And I don't really know exactly what happens in some and not in others. I don't know. So you can psychoanalyze me if you want or whatever, but make of it what you will. But another thing I think that the toughening up of me caused a friction with certain individuals who, and this kind of triggered thing that's a phenomenon happening in certain colleges or whatever, where people are saying, oh, you have to have trigger warnings on things. And I'm like, no, you don't. Stop being a wuss, toughen up, and get with the program. And I honestly don't understand how they're doing, why or how they've let themselves become such wimps, in the sense of the school is not there to serve you. It's to educate you. That's its only job. Whether it's doing a good job on that or not, who knows? But that's what it's supposed to do, especially university level. You expect a high standard, and so you expect to be challenged. You expect to be tossed things that might make you uncomfortable, and good, because the real world is way more brutal than school's going to be. So how are you going to deal with the real world if you can't deal with, whatever the bleep it is you're learning in school? And so if you're such a delicate flower, or snowflake as it's been termed, that you melt at any given topic, go get yourself some therapy and then come back when you're ready to tackle the issues. And people, oh, but what about the, they need to take care of themselves. That viewpoint of mine is probably and most likely a direct result from what I had to deal with in school, and thus that informed my way of viewing the world. It's like, well, if I survived it, certainly you can, and my view on words developed because of that. I think that I've said before, words don't matter unless they don't have power unless you give them power. They have no power over you. And there's a movie I love, Labyrinth, and in that movie, the protagonist Sarah, fights the Goblin King, so to speak, but she fights him with intellect, and she has this lovely little poem that she's supposed to say at the end, that through trials untold and hardships unnumbered, I've fought my way here to the castle beyond the Goblin City. For my kingdom is as great as yours, and my will is as strong. I think now I can't quite remember, dang it. And then she forgets the next line, but then she remembers it. You have no power over me. And that's the key line that breaks the spell and wins the contest, is you have no power over me. And that's what I think and say to these words that people try to throw my way to hurt me. Says, you have no power over me. And my response usually is, and your argument is what? this person was insulting me on in the comments of the debate I'd had on Modern Day Debate, and they were just like, "Oh, this guy is a jerk and an idiot," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's nice." And so, what's your argument? How does that negate any of my points? So I wasn't trying to negate your points. I'm like, I understand. So do you have an argument? Because I don't care about your insults. So what else you got? If you don't have an argument, then you got nothing. Because I already dismantled that I don't care about your insults. So what do you have? And it really, he didn't. That was it. He didn't have a response. He couldn't, because he wanted me to do the thing. He wanted me to attack him back, and I didn't. So I ruined it for him. He was ready for the verbal jousting, but I didn't give it to him. And online, when I got introduced to the net, I got introduced rather quickly to the concept of not feeding the trolls. And that's the idea that if somebody's trying to get a reaction out of you, the worst thing you do is give them what they want. And if you've ever seen Kitchen Nightmares, there's one episode that's really well known, or and should be better known, is Amy's Cooking Kitchen, or Amy's whatever, Amy's Baking Company, ABC, And this gal Amy and her husband are complete wackos. They're nuts. They're just insane people that shouldn't be running a restaurant. I don't know what they could be doing in life, but it's not that. And they're belligerent against their own customers. They do not take criticism at all. And somebody posted whatever the thing online was, and they retaliated back online and insulted the bleep out of the person. And so on their Facebook, it's all these like arguments back and forth that have happened, and people just did it just to see them do it. It was like they would call them and they'd record the call and they'd post it online and think it was all great fun. Well, that's not a very good sport. That's not, the person that does that isn't a good person. But why are they doing it? Why is the troll trolling? There's another saying, haters gonna hate. Why is the hater hating? Who knows? We don't know, and it doesn't really matter. What matters is them responding to it made it worse. But that's the opposite lesson that I learned in school, because not responding made it worse. So I had to undo what I learned on the internet. No, it's just you block the person, you ignore them, and that's it. That's how you deal with it. And to see the, I suppose, next generation, if you will, come in and not understand that idea has been very disturbing to me. It's like they expect Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or whatever to do it for them. Block these people for me. I can't deal with them. And give me the ability to block certain words from ever being seen. And actually, you can do that on YouTube if you're interested. If you want to do that for some reason, you can make it so that certain words never appear on your comments ever again. So you can really lock down and lock yourself out of things, but it should always be you doing it. It should never be the thing that you're using to do it. And even you doing it, there's pros and cons to it, but it's better to police yourself than to ask to be policed by the bigger corporation, because the more power you give them, the less power you have and the less freedom you have. And so I have grown to really want freedom of speech and protect those that even those that insult me or whatever. That's fine. I recognize that's not an argument. Doesn't matter to me. Even if it does upset me, I'm gonna deal with that on my own, and I'm not going to, censor the person for it. Now, maybe I'll block them, but that's kind of my own personal thing, rather than I'm going to tell everybody, oh, look at what they did, so that now let's all go get them. Let's get them, boys. Let's go out and, dox them, and find out where they live, and find out where they work, and try to get them fired, and, and goodness knows what else. I just view that as inappropriate response to words on a screen, or words that somebody is saying. It's like, look, and there was bullies that wanted to actually physically fight in that school, and you had to deal with that. Yeah, let's see. So it's when people start doing things because of what people said that it all goes off for me. Yeah, I mean, there's something to that, I suppose, that people get worried, or can get worried, that, well, the person said, let's go do this thing, and that thing is a bad thing that I don't want them to do, and so they're inciting people to riot. Well, there's already a law against that, right? There's already a law. You're not supposed to incite people to riot. So you take that to the law. And maybe the police need more funding, not less, but maybe they need a cybercrime division that focuses on stuff like that. But we've seen the bad side of that being, I think it was Britain or somewhere, that a kid, he was like 13, whatever, had sent a racist tweet to somebody, and so he went to jail for it. I'm like, really? No, come on. That's stupid. Who cares? Let them be racist. I don't like racism, but let them do it. Who cares? But they don't have the First Amendment, I guess, in Britain, or they have something like it, but not exactly, or whatever, I guess. So they weren't protected. But yeah, somebody might start something by words, and that we have to live with that. In America, I was thinking about this. If enough people got together, and they could hypothetically get into power all the people that you wouldn't want to be in power, if they really if there was enough of them, then there'd have to be quite enough of them to do it. But hypothetically, let's say the communists, which we've seen more and more people are coming out as communists, they could hypothetically get most of Congress to be communists or communist sympathetic, and they could get judicial branch. They could get people elected into those positions, because that's the way that our system works. So that's kind of scary. But if they then ruined the system and changed it so much that it doesn't resemble what it was, there might be some pushback on that. Who knows? Maybe not. But we risk the bad and the good along with it. And I think, Picard in Star Trek had a speech that, there's always going to be people out there that will try to use the system in a negative way. I think this was the episode Drumhead. And that because the guy happened to have the blood of Romulans in him, that he was going to be demonized. And he was so afraid to admit that he was half Romulan that he lied on his entrance to Starfleet. And so that might get him kicked out of Starfleet because he lied, on his entrance. And it's like, well, but the fact that he was afraid should say a lot too. That means you don't have a perfect system, or as good of a system as you thought, because nobody should have to worry about, you know, you know, them having be, being half Romulan, or being a former Borg or whatever, that shouldn't matter. But we see that, today, in some ways. So the internet's rules, if you will, have flipped, from don't feed the trolls to protect us from the trolls to make laws against the trolls so that we are protected and sheltered from these words that might hurt somebody's feelings. They might not even, it's not even my feelings necessarily, but I'm going to get offended on behalf of somebody else. And we saw that with I did that video, can't say the word retarded, where the guy got, put on a month unpaid probation because he said religion is a retarded artifact. And his company said, well, nope, can't say that, can't say that word. So you get a suspension of a month without pay, and for the next 2 years we're going to be watching what you say, and you say anything like that again, we're going to fire you. And he had to apologize, or he might have gotten fired. I would have said, fine, fire me, kiss my ass on the way out, I don't care. But he didn't, and I mean, he doesn't want to give up that position, and that prestige and that power, and that's his prerogative to do that. But we shouldn't be at the point, I don't think, where we fire people or threaten to fire people because of what they say online or offline, for that matter. Who cares? As long as you're doing your job, that's all that should matter. Now, maybe if you're talking smack about your company, yeah, okay, maybe then, but even that, then they should just say, hey, why are you talking smack about the company? Maybe they should just talk to you. I don't know. There's better ways to handle this than what we're doing. And so I don't agree at all with the, so-called social justice warrior types that want to, the cancel culture or whatever the labels are now. I've lost track. There's so many. Laws against hate speech. Well, hate speech is a phenomenon that's developed. There's no such thing as hate speech. It doesn't exist. It's an idea, but it's not a real idea. And what I mean by that is, try to get anyone to define what hate speech is. There's no coherent definition of it, and there's no way to coherently identify it either. Because what is hate to you is not hate to somebody else. So there's no hate speech. There's only speech you don't like. And all speech is free and must be free and must be sacred, must be protected, especially speech you don't like. Oh, but it might cause somebody to do something bad. Well, it might, but it might not. And the laws that we already have are probably good enough to sort that out already. And we don't, goodness knows, you give the government more power than it already has. People hate Trump, right, for example, and yet they want laws to protect them against hate speech. You really want somebody like Trump that you hate to be in charge of what you're allowed to say? Is that a good idea? No, that's stupid. Why would you do that? You don't know. That's the thing. You don't know who's going to be in charge next. And the person that you hate most, and they're the ones that are going to use that power against you. So don't, when you use a tactic against somebody else, they're going to invariably use that tactic against you. So I think that's where the cutting came in the school, to go back to my past of, here's where we use the same tactics on each other. And I think a lot of the kids that did it because they wanted attention. I remember this one kid, Aaron, who said, you probably just think that I'm making fun of you because I feel bad about myself or something. And I didn't say anything in response. I was just like, okay. I don't think anything happened actually, but think what you. I mean, you admitted it, so I don't know. Um, the 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 tactic that you use on someone else, that's going to be used on you, and so the tactic that I try to use on other people and don't always succeed at is logic, because I'm like, well, at least I know how that works most of the time. And I'm not super stable or whatever as a human. My marbles are kind of all over the place, but uh I don't expect people to tiptoe around my issues, and I would never want them to, because those are my things to deal with, not yours. I'm not going to say, hey, don't mention this thing because that's going to make me think of this time that then is going to make me go into this flashback. No, I need to take therapy to get over that. That's my burden, not yours. And in fact, it actually hurts me to be protected from some of these things in a way. And psychology has shown that people that have anxiety or fears about whatever kind of need to be exposed to it a little by little, but nonetheless, that exposure helps them come over it. So by protecting people, we're actually doing a disservice to them. And, if you say, well, but I don't want this to hurt this person. Well, maybe that person shouldn't even be on the internet, because, they're going to get hurt by something somebody says, if they can get hurt in that way at all. And maybe they need some serious therapy before they are online. And maybe just being online isn't good for that person. Maybe that's just the truth of the matter, that some people can't handle it. There was some study I heard that was done. Now, I don't know what the study is or if it actually had happened. All I know is I heard that a study supposedly happened. So, supposedly on Twitter, you engage in a way that makes you angry or something like this, or you get in the same sort of combative mode that you do when you are about to fight someone physically. I'm going to be skeptical that it's an actual study that's out there until I find it or somebody gives it to me. But I found that I couldn't take Facebook anymore. I couldn't deal with it. It was too much stupidity. And I got rid of Facebook. I've been on Twitter, and originally I was only using Twitter to promote my videos, but then I started using Twitter. And now I'm seeing the same thing where it's like, there's a lot of stupid. And sometimes it gives me content to do a video about, but at the same time, you wear yourself out by looking at it all the time, and it mentally fatigues you. And it's like you go to the store to get something, and the stores are set up to mentally fatigue you, so you buy more than what you wanted. Like, they know, they did it. They've done these tests, and they figured out the psychology of humans, and that's why the produce is in the front and the dairy is in the back. Is all part of their plan to get you to buy more than what you want to buy. And that's why the candy's at the register, because you know it's bad for you, but you're so tired at the end of your shopping that you give in and you get it. Now, there's been a few places I recall that toyed with this, and they flipped it. They said that the health of their people was more important than their profits, and they put the fruit and veggies up front at the registers. And they didn't design their stores to try to get people to spend money. And the people became healthier as a result. So, does it have to come from the top down, or is that something that from the bottom up that we can demand that happen? We're not going to shop at your shop until you do this thing for us. I don't know. I don't know. This it's a war of what do you call it? Rope pulling of personal responsibility versus the responsibility of institutions to do the best thing for us, if you will. And I know I'm going back and forth between my past and my present, but the past informs your present to some extent. And okay, another story, I suppose. Now, actually, I wrote about this on my blog, which not everybody knows that I have a blog. So, well, that's interesting. Well, they changed how blog works, so I just had to. That was weird. Yeah, I don't like the new. I don't like this. This is different. I don't like things that are different. Legacy interface will be available and then it will go away. No, leave it alone. It was fine the way it was. Anyways, okay. How do I? I don't know. How do I get to the regular? Just give me my blog, you stupid thing. I was gonna pull up the blog for you. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's. This is great content, isn't it? Listening to me yell at blog post of, I didn't ever finish doing that draft. Oh well, let's see. View. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Thank goodness for this. Oh my word. Sucks. Okay, so let's see. Share screen, Chrome tab, blah, 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 boy in the box, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. So here's this post I wrote. So this is another thing that happened in my past that, I'll read it to you, I guess, because that's what I'm doing today. It's just reflecting on my past to, maybe it will make you think of something, or I don't know what the hell I'm doing this for. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways. So let me read this for you. This actually happened. So the bus rides to home from school took about 20 minutes or so, more because of stops. Kids were cruel to each other, no control, pure chaos. Some days were okay, not today. Hold on, let me preference this. This particular bus ride was to a different school than the one I was talking about before. And it was before I went to the school that I was talking about. So this bus ride was like, goodness, wasn't an hour or something stupid like that? I don't know. It seemed like it probably was like 20 minutes but it felt like an hour. I don't know how long it was. It was quite some distance from where we lived to the school because we were out in like the country. And so the bus rides took a long time, and it was just one bus driver, and they did not control the chaos in the back. So anyways, okay, so that's the preference on this. Okay, back to the story now. A young boy sat in the front seat. No one ever took the front seat if they didn't have to, but he did. He had a large box with him. Who knows why? He was being picked on. I watched, thinking that I was glad it wasn't me, but feeling bad for him. I couldn't do anything for him. I could only watch. Then he made it worse for himself. He put the box on himself. That made those picking on him increase their fervor. However you say that word. I can't say words. There is psychology to this, of course, that when you appear weak, the attackers will go even more on the attack. I can't even read what I wrote. Then if you stand up to them, they hit the box. They threw things, spit at him, insulted, yelled. The bus driver shouted to keep quiet. No one did. We rode on. It seemed like forever before his house came and he got off. Kids cheered as if some victory had been won. What was it like for that poor boy in the box? How afraid was he? How sad was he? Did anyone care? Did the bus driver report it? Did the parents find out? Nothing seemed to change the next time. No added adult to the bus to keep us calm. Why? Are the ones tossing are we the ones tossing things at the box? Are we the ones sitting and watching those others do it, saying nothing? Have we grown out of such behavior? Or are we all the boy in the box? So, yeah, that happened. And, I wanted to ask those questions about being in this box and or outside of it watching, and to reflect on this thing that happened in the past and try to use it in some useful way in my adult life. It's like, what was the point of this? And this, I hear this sometimes from theists because, this is a skeptical atheist channel, so I interact with theists. Life is pointless without God. No. Life is pointful with or without God. It's just you have to make the points. And for some, that's scary because they got used to being told what the purpose of their life was. Your purpose is X. Your religion told you your purpose. To find out that that's not real can really mess with your brain. When I deconverted, that was something I really had to rediscover, is what the bleep is my purpose? What's the point of all the things I've done? All this time wasted in church. Why? What can I do with that? And can that be of any use to anybody? So I don't know if it can or can't. But if I put the stories about those events out there, and maybe somebody somewhere can utilize that. I guess that's why we read autobiographies, is we get a glance into somebody else's life, and then we can do something with that. Although every time I've tried to write my life story, I start to rewrite what happened, because I'm not like, no, I didn't do that. That was stupid. No, I did the smart thing, So I haven't. One of these days I'll get around to it. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if this helped anyone or got anyone to think about, words and insults, but I really do still, even though I'm a skeptic, I suppose I have some beliefs left rattling around in my head, and one of those beliefs might be that words only have power when you give them power. And so the insults that people have for you only have power if you let them have power. And yes, they're going to sting. Yes, it's going to hurt. But you can become better than they are by not giving what they want. Don't become angry. Don't become upset. Maybe you will be angry or upset, but you don't show it. You wait till you retreat somewhere safe, and then you have your outburst and breakdown and cry or whatever you're going to do. And then you're able to return to the thing calm, collected, and logical, rather than what we've seen lately. I think we've seen these so-called protests turn into riots, where people are breaking and burning and bashing things and hurting people and shooting each other because they don't know how to be mature adults. And hell, I'm old. And I don't know that I know how to be a mature adult, but I know that I'm working on it. And I know that many of you have helped me in trying to work on it. by your critical criticisms of what I've said. And I hope that you all keep me on my toes as I try to keep you on yours. But rather than insults, we should use good arguments. Because an insult is never an argument and never can be. I mean, when's the last time that you've ever been called an asshole and we're like, oh, well, you must be right. I didn't think about that. I'm an asshole. Okay, well, let's do it your way then. You know what I mean? You know, when's the last time that you got insulted that really changed your mind about something, right? Now, there's some degree, maybe you say, religion needs to be ridiculed. Yeah, okay. But that's attacking an idea, not the person. Oh, that person sounds silly, or they have a lisp, or they look funny, or whatever. Who cares? Don't do that. Attack the argument, not the person, not the group. And let's focus maybe on what they're doing more than what they're saying too. I mean, but it's like, oh, they said whatever. It's like, yeah, but what did they do? What have they done? Like, they can say whatever. That doesn't matter. Like, I'm talking more about like politics stuff where it's like, oh, that person said this. It's like people keep retweeting a thing that Trump said, not to keep using him as an example, but oh, look at this. Oh, I'm like, why are you even following this guy? You don't like him. Why don't you just block the account and then it's not there for you to look at anymore? Obviously you hate everything he says, so just block it and be done with it, just so you don't have to deal with it anymore, but if you're gonna, and what he does is far more important than what he says. I mean, it would have to be, right? But, I don't know. I don't like adulting. Yeah, it is hard. I mean, yeah, we get breaks. I mean, but you have to, like in all things, it's in moderation, right? You don't want to go too far one way or the other, And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So when I was young, I got insulted and I had to learn how to fight back. So if and when I'm abrasive, that's why, at least part of it. That's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. And I definitely want to work at it because I know I can do better and I know I have done better. So hopefully I will do better. Anyways, so I wanted to share a little bit about my past with you and, ramble as I did. And I don't know. Hopefully you got something from this. And that's it. I'm out of ideas now. I'm out of things. I mean, there's other things I could talk about, but I don't feel like it. I'm kind of done now. I'm going to go be anxious and face some existential dread about something else now, I guess. And I'll see you next time. No, wait. I don't want to do that, but I probably will. But I'll see you all next time. Actually, I won't see you. I'll see words that you put on the screen, maybe. And then, like, if you already commented in the side chat here, that's nice. But you have to comment on the actual video when it's a video, or YouTube doesn't care, and then it doesn't help, like, YouTube to know I exist, and then other people don't know I exist. So, go ahead and comment on this video once it's a video. Thanks. I appreciate it. They should automatically take chat and make it into a comment on YouTube. That'd be cool. Maybe. I don't know. They're not going to do that. I'm going to hit the button now. I'm starting to be stupid. I'm starting to say stupid things. Better hit that button before I say something really stupid. I mean, not that I'm not going to say something stupid at some point. Eventually, I'm going to say something stupid. In the broadcast! Oh, right. Lobsters. Yeah, that's not stupid, though. Lobsters are awesome. Good night. Good day. Good grief. Good something. I don't know. Hit the button.